In this video lecture, we want to talk about our next data topic, which is constants. Constants are really nothing more than special designations for certain data which are truly constant and unchanging within our programs. Okay, let's get started. Constants are really nothing more than regular old Java variables which have been promoted in importance, so to speak. Maybe it's been determined that their values are truly unchanging during a program's execution, and they are deemed important enough to warrant some special, distinct, recognizable naming. If we want to explicitly prevent their values from changing, we can also use the final keyword as part of their declaration and initialization to prevent their values from being changed later. Here's the general format for setting up a constant. We simply add the final keyword to the beginning of our declaration, specify the desired data type, and then name the variable and set its value. Same as always. But instead of using the usual naming convention for variables of an initial lowercase letter and camel case naming, instead we use all caps and underscores between the words in its variable name. Identifying certain values as constants can help make our code more readable and more maintainable. If there are certain values we know are going to be fixed, we can carve them out and name them as constants to avoid having lots of hardwired literal values in our code. Typical usages might be for some well-known physical constants, various conversion factors, or even character or string constant sequences. For example, if we were doing lots of conversions between feet and yards, rather than having the number 3 sprinkled throughout our code in many places, we'd probably prefer to call it something like yards underscore to underscore feet, and replace all those 3's with this constant. Let's take a look at some examples in code. Again, constants are simply regular Java variables which adhere to some additional naming conventions. By good programming convention, constant names have these 3 attributes. They are declared using the final keyword, they are named using all caps, and in this case, instead of camel case, they are allowed to use underscores between the internal words. Here we can see a number of examples from the file constantexamples.java. In all cases, a regular variable declaration has been revised by using the leading final keyword and renaming the variable into constant naming by using all caps and underscores. That's it. As you can probably infer, all these quantities represent variables which will not change in value, and also warrant some special recognizable naming convention. In addition, for this constant for inches to meters, we can see that it's calculated by taking the reciprocal of its inverse value for meters to inches, which itself was declared as a constant as well. At this point, you may wish to pause this video and view the short code walkthrough video for constantexamples.java. Download the source code from this location and load it up in JGrasp so you can follow along. Then return to this video when you are finished. Finally, just as with anything, it is possible to overdo the use of constants in your programs. General programming guidance is usually to avoid the use of any hard-coded numerical values in your programs, always preferring to use variables or constants. But you should only use constants when their data warrants some special designated named constant value. Otherwise, if they merely represent some numerical coefficients in a standard equation, it may be okay to leave some select hard-coded values in your code. For example, in this first example in red, we are trying to convert meters to inches using the conversion factor 39.37. Here, that value is a designated conversion constant and is best replaced by a named constant inches per meter, as shown in green below. But in the second example, we are just trying to calculate the area of a right triangle by dividing the base times height by 2. Here, the use of a constant for 2 is overkill. There's nothing special about the value 2. It's just the divisor in a standard equation. We would be better served here by leaving the 2 in place as the divisor, as shown below in green. As with anything, there is no substitute for good situational judgment, and you'll develop that as you gain more and more programming practice and develop your own personal coding style. For now, if in doubt, just ask. Okay, that pretty much covers the use of constants in Java for now, and we'll end this discussion.